What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Dylan back again for another solo video. Last week, you guys saw me talk about the top 5 winners of the 2018 free agency. We talked about the teams that actually got a lot better in the process. We went over the Vikings. We went over a bunch of different teams, the Bears. There's quite a few teams that got better in the free agency, but with every winner comes a loser. We need to talk about the top 5 losers of the 2018 free agency. Now, what classifies yourself as a loser in free agency? Well, it's the fact that maybe you have a lot of space to get somebody, but you were very quiet in the offseason. A bunch of people left your organization. You wanted to get free agents, but you weren't able to get them because they went to a different team. Those are 3 big factors. If you have the money to do so and you can't get them, that's pretty sad. If they don't want to come to your team, it's not very good. If people are leaving your team, obviously your team is going to be affected by it. And all 5 of these teams have a combination of those 3 and also maybe some shady contracts if they did get a free agent. So those are the qualifications to being a loser in free agency, and we're right now going to talk about the top 5 losers of the 2018 free agency period. At number 5, I have the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts aren't the biggest losers of the free agency. They just make the top 5, and here's why. They didn't have too many people leave. In fact, the only person that really kind of hurts them in any way is Dante Moncrief leaving the Colts organization. But I think the reason that they get the number 5 spot is because their division got so much better while they did basically nothing. They have a lot of cap space, the close to $75 million, and yet they really didn't do much. Their biggest win that they got in free agency was they let the Jets go down to the number 3 spot, but they did get a lot of second-round picks. You know, they built up their draft this season, so maybe that could be called as a win. But until we see the production of those players, we cannot call it a win. You guys saw what the Jacksonville Jaguars did. They made some very sneaky moves to make a team that went to the AFC Championship game a lot better. The Tennessee Titans obviously got Deion Lewis and Malcolm Butler, so they were interested in getting a lot better. And the Texans, while they didn't make too many moves, they're still looked at as a team that could be a viable threat in the upcoming season because of Deshaun Watson, all their positivity that went there before he got hurt. There's still a lot of good things to go with all 3 of the other teams in this division. However, the Colts, they're still in limbo. You know, the head coaching debacle that happened, I don't know. The AFC South looks like they're trying to leave the Colts in the dust, and the Colts didn't really do much in free agency to change that opinion. So, at number 5, I got the Indianapolis Colts. At number 4, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals make this list for some questionable moves. The team as a whole, I'm still not 100% sure about. You know, the NFC West is getting really strong with teams like the Rams and the 49ers. And now we have the Cardinals and a team we'll talk about later on. With the Cardinals, they signed Sammy Biscuits to a 1-year, $20 million contract. Sammy Biscuits is a good quarterback when healthy. The problem is, when is he healthy? And the Cardinals wanted to give him $20 million for 1 year. If it's a 1-year contract, I know it's like, oh, well, you could just let him go after that, but why give him $20 million? Like, that's a lot of money for a guy that gets injured a lot. Tyrann Mathieu then got released and signed with the Texans. Very questionable decision. I have no idea why they decided to release him. The Cardinals' defense just got worse for it. And I think it's going to be a steal for the Texans, all things considered. And the Cardinals also got Mike Glennon to a 2-year contract. So not only did they get Sammy Biscuits, they signed Mike Glennon to some money. And there's still question of whether or not they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. What are you doing? If these guys are just bench players, why are you paying them so much money to get a quarterback in the first round? Very questionable decisions, especially the Tyrann Mathieu situation. Like, why in the world would you release a guy that's, you know, one of the best in the game? So, it's just very questionable. They could still make it work, but as it stands, not liking these moves from the Cardinals, and that's what makes them number 4 on the list. At number 3, I have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins went 6-10 last year. They were 3rd in their division. At some points, you're like, oh, this is an upset team that could sneak into the playoffs. And other times, they looked god-awful. Of course, that could be attributed to their quarterback, Jay Cutler, who honestly just was there for the check. But the Miami Dolphins decided to do some very questionable things in free agency. First off, they traded away Jarvis Landry, a wide receiver that's got top 5, top 10 talent as a wide receiver. Jay Cutler did not use him very effectively, as you can tell by his yards per catch total. It just was very, very low considering the amount of receptions that he had. He's going to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns decided they were not going to go 0-16 this year and got a lot of pieces to make themselves a lot better, all things considered. So they lost that. They let Ndamukong Suh go, who's a great defensive tackle, a guy that's been in the league for, I think this is going to be his 8th season, and now he's going to the Rams for a 1-year, $14 million contract, where that's a pretty good contract, all things considered, for the Rams, because the Rams are huge winners in this free agency with the acquisition of Ndamukong Suh. They were number 4 before they even got Suh for me, so they're probably up there number 3 or number 2 now. The Dolphins did get a couple of pieces, so you question whether or not it should be on the list. They got Albert Wilson, they got Danny Amendola, they got Robert Quinn, but I just question some of these moves. Like, why would you trade away Jarvis Landry? I don't see the point. I know he got franchise tagged. He didn't really want to be there. He probably wanted to win. I don't know why you would go to the Browns, but regardless, I don't know why you would get rid of him. I don't know why you would get rid of Suh. It questions me. It really does baffle me what the Dolphins are doing, and they're not getting themselves into a position to take over the AFC East. So, over here at number 3, I got the Miami Dolphins. At number 2, I have the Washington Redskins. Now, my final 2 picks here at number 2 and number 1 lost free agency in completely different ways. It's actually quite remarkable how they are completely different in the ways that they lost. But let's start off with number 2, the Washington Redskins. First off, they got Alex Smith after realizing that Kirk Cousins was not going to be on their team. That's a downgrade, man. That is a downgrade. There are times where Alex Smith can be good. We've seen him shine in certain situations, but he is not reliable and he's not clutch. They won on that 5-game winning streak in the beginning of the season. He went, he did his thing, but then slowed down. They cooled off, couldn't do it well in the playoffs. It baffles my mind why they decided to get Alex Smith. And plus, you're losing Kirk Cousins in the process. Paul Richardson, overpaid to hell. I think it is the worst free agent signing this year. The worst. Paul Richardson's not a bad receiver. He's a decent receiver coming out of Seattle. I think he was used very well in the Russell Wilson style of play, and I don't think Alex Smith is going to be using him nearly as well. It just doesn't work. When you pay a guy that much money, I don't know. You let Ryan Grant go. He doesn't have a team, but he still was a decent receiver. Kendall Fuller got traded as a result of the Alex Smith trade. I just think you're losing a really good talent there as well that's very young. Could obviously help your secondary, what she was doing in the process. It just baffles my mind what the Redskins were doing in this offseason. They were trying to acquire pieces to make themselves at least a little bit better, but everyone that they got were huge misses in my opinion, or you're losing the talent that you had before, and then the ones you traded away weren't very smart either. So, number 2, I got to go with the Washington Redskins. And at number 1, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Why? Because everybody decided to leave their team. It's honestly amazing the amount of people that left the Seattle Seahawks this season. And for that, they are absolutely the biggest free agency losers. Because not only did they have everybody leave, they never got anybody. They didn't gain anybody. They lost all this talent. And now I have reason to believe they are going to be maybe the worst team in their own division. Maybe. The Cardinals could still be last, but let's talk about this. So Richard Sherman, Legion of Boom member, the leader, Legion of Boom, gone. Now he's gone to San Francisco, which is in the same division. Tremendous. Jimmy Graham, although not the best working relationship, is still one of the better tight ends in the game. Now he's going over to Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. You don't think they're a little salty about that, considering that's a good combination? Sheldon Richardson, you see there on the bottom. He's going to the Minnesota Vikings. That's a pretty good organization. They're going to look to win a title this season. The NFC Championship appearance last year. That's pretty good. Then you see these two guys right here. Paul Richardson. Again, not a good fit over there in Washington, but still was a key receiver for the Seattle Seahawks and worked well with Russell Wilson. So that's a huge loss. Michael Bennett. He's got himself into some trouble, but for the last couple of seasons has still been a pretty good defensive player that the Seahawks are obviously going to miss. They knew he was going to be gone, but still, you're going to miss a guy like that. So they lost just about everybody you could possibly have on defense, on offense, pretty much everywhere. And Seattle is going to be in the hole this year because they lost so much talent in free agency, acquired none of it, even though they had some cap space. It's pretty sad, honestly, because the reign of Seattle, in my opinion, is over. So number 1, Seattle Seahawks. So thank you guys for watching this top 5 losers of the 2018 NFL free agency video. If you guys enjoyed, like the video, comment below. Was there a team that I missed? Was there a team that you felt did even worse? Are my rankings good? What do you think about these teams? Are they going to fall because of them being losers? I'll tell you right now, my Cowboys would have made this list if Alan Hearns and Cameron Fleming were not acquired. I was pretty confident they were going to make this list until last week, so glad I held off on it until now. But subscribe to The Bottom Line View, more NFL content on the way. We're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. We're going to have a couple more scouting videos for you guys. We'll talk about the receivers sometime next week. And yeah, just stay tuned for more NFL content on the way. So we're doing on The Bottom Line View. Peace.